Hi guys, and welcome to another Divi video. This is Jamie from System22 and webdesignandtechtips.com. Well, we've been demonstrating this plugin here. It's a fantastic plugin, Divi Hover Effects, and you get, I think it's 250 of these fantastic image to sort of text on hover things, and you can get some fantastic effects, and I'll put the link to this plugin down below. And they do image swaps as well. But we've been actually building a few of these from scratch with the Divi theme because it's come such a long way. You can do so much with it with not too much work. And today we're going to build this one on the left here, which is a sort of diagonal call to action drop in on hover. And when you hover over it, that little text sort of diagonally drops in. Don't get me wrong, that plugin that I was showing you is fantastic. I bought it and I'm going to be using it a lot. But if you're willing to put in a little bit of work, you can create some pretty similar effects doing it this way. So let's get started. First thing I'm going to do is enable the Visual Builder. And the way these hover effects have been working is we've got a row that's got two columns in it. The image that you're looking at there is actually in the column itself. And then when the call to action floats in from the left there, or wherever you want to float it in from, that's actually the module itself. So let's start building. We'll start on the row. Now I've got to write one little line of CSS code for this, but don't let that put you off. I'll put it below the video and you're welcome to use it. So let's go into our row. Green tab for a row, blue for a section, dark for a module. And we want to work on column 2, obviously column 1, column 2. Here we go. So I'm going to go into column 2. The first thing I'm going to do is put our background image in there. You've got color, gradient, image, or video. I'm going to use an image, and I'll use the same one as I used before. Now the reason you can't see anything there is because our column actually has no height. So this is where I'm going to write a little bit of CSS to give it a fixed height. So I'm going to go over to the Advanced tab, I'm going to go down to Custom CSS, and in the main element right here, I'm going to simply write height, colon, and I think we've been using 400 pixels for these. Whatever works for you, semicolon. Now, when we put our call to action in there, we've got to sort of jig it so it's out of the way. And that means it's going to be floating up here somewhere, and we don't want to see it when it's floating up there. So we're going to use some overflow hidden. Now we could write overflow hidden here, but they've kindly given us some switches that we can use. We're still on the Advanced tab. We'll go down to Visibility, and here we are, overflow. And they're both marked to hidden at the moment. By default, they're on default. Just grab them, switch them to hidden, both vertical and horizontal. Okay, well that should be our column taken care of there. Let's save the column and save the row. Let's add a call to action module. Little dark circle to add a module, left click. And this will work with majority of these modules here. So I'm just going to use a call to action. There it is. Okay, now you can see that background image, and obviously our call to action is not tall enough. So let's fix that. I guess we'll put a title in first, or whatever you want to say. I'll leave the default content below and put in notify me, or whatever is appropriate to whatever you're doing there. You don't see a button there, and the reason that is because you won't see it until you actually put a link in. And notify me, I'd probably link it to my contact page. And you can do that with Divi using dynamic, this little icon here. If you're linking to a page, just choose the page that you want. Or of course you can put in any URL, internal or external. I'm just going to put a hashtag. Once I put that in there, you'll see the button appear. There it is. Okay, and if you want the module itself to link to somewhere different from the button, you can put it in there. Or if you want to link it to the same place, just put the same link in there so they don't miss out. If you're linking to your own site, keep it in the same window. If you're doing an external link, I'd probably put it in a new tab. That way your site stays open. Alright, not too keen on that background color, so we'll drop down the background. What I'm going to do is, I guess the image is kind of greenish, so I'll change it to green, but not that green. Let's drag it down, make it a little bit darker. Something like that. But I want to see some of the image behind it, so I'm going to grab my opacity slider, this one on the right, and just drag it down so I can see a bit of the image behind but still read that text very well. That's about right. Good. Okay. Next thing we want to do is make it fill out the whole container here. As you can see, it cuts off there, so we're just going to add some padding top and bottom to make that happen. So over to design, to spacing, and here's our padding top and bottom. I'm going to try 100 top and bottom. That should just about do it. 100, hit the link, it'll do the bottom, it'll put in the pixels automatically. Yeah, well actually there's just a tiny bit of space at the bottom there, so let's make it say 105. That might be a little overkill. That's fine. Okay, so what do we want to do? Well, we want to have it sliding in from the left hand side. And to do that, we need to push it up out of the way first. So let's give it some negative margin, which will pull it over here, and some negative margin that will put it at the top. So it's actually going to be sitting up here somewhere and you won't be able to see it. So let's go into our margin here and we'll give it -400 because we know this is 400 tall. That'll take it out of that box there, -400. As you can see, it's disappeared. And incidentally, if sometimes you're trying to get into a module and you reposition it like that, and you hover over and you can't get to it, just hit the little purple button here and you can switch to wireframe mode, which lets you see it like this, and you can just go in that way and switch it back. When you're repositioning, that occasionally happens. Okay, actually there's still a bit visible there, so let's say 410. That should fix it. There we go, great. So that's up here right now, and because we want it to diagonally come in, we need to put it over here somewhere. And that's more than 400. Let's try -600 and see what happens. And that would be on the left. So -600, it'll put the pixels in for me. So now it should be over here. And if I actually was to go back into that column and you needed to see where it was, we'll go back into the column. We can just flip those overflow hidden settings and you should see it. Visibility. There it is up the top there, so it's over here. That's fine, that works fine. So let's just hide that again. If you need to know where it is, that's the way to do it. Okay, well let's go back in, and here's one of those examples where I can't get into it because it's up here somewhere. Just go back into the wireframe. There we go, and back to the desktop. Okay, so now that we've hidden it, we want to bring it back. So we'll go back into our spacing again, still on the design tab. Now, common to most Divi modules, if you hover over the dark legending, you'll see these little icons appear. The little arrow will allow you to make a desktop state, which is basically when your mouse is not on it, which is what we want that we're looking at now, and a hover state, which is when your mouse is on it. Now for the hover state, I'm going to reset this to 0, and I'm going to reset this to 0. And we might decide to give it a bit more padding or something left and right. At the moment that's actually okay. Okay, it's back where we want it, but to ensure this is going to work when they put their mouse over here, we want to make sure on the desktop state we've got enough padding that it's still filling our area right here. So we know we've taken it up by what, 410. So on the desktop state, let's add another 410 to this. That would be 515. Take the chain off because you don't want to affect the first one. So what did I say? 515, wasn't it? And we'll put that there. As you can see, that's coming down here, and I only want to see that opaque background when it comes in and when we're hovering on it, and that's not quite enough, so let's make it 575. That should do it. Okay, that's covering it perfectly. So let's go to that background. I only want this background to appear when I hover on it, so let's go up to background, same thing, little arrow. On desktop, don't want any background at all. On hover, I still want that green background. And there we go. If we've done everything correctly, this should actually work now. So let's save. We'll save the draft, or publish if you're ready, and exit the Visual Builder. Okay, let's see if this is going to work. Let's go down here, and there we go. And it should work on any corner that we put our mouse on, or anywhere that we decide to put our mouse. There we go. So there's your diagonal hover effect. Pretty easy to do, and that's really effective. If people are mousing around your site and that happens, it's going to get their eyes on it pretty quick. So I hope you've enjoyed that and found it useful. If you have, please give it a thumbs up, ring the bell, comment, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Once again, this has been Jamie from System22 and webdesignandtechtips.com. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.